Hey, party people! Welcome once again to the Party of One podcast, the actual play RPG podcast where the gaming table is always set for two. I'm your host as always, Jeff Stormer. This week on the show, I am joined by Victoria Rogers for a game of Fallout Wasteland Warfare. Victoria is the host of the Broadswords, an all-women and non-binary Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition actual play podcast that is delightful and you should already be listening to it. But if you're not, you should head over to thebroadswords.com for more information. And Fallout Wasteland Warfare is the official role-playing game of the video game series Fallout. One of the first games that I ever fell in love with, and a game series that I've been deeply, deeply all about ever since I was an awkward teenager, having grown into a awkward but sort of charming adult, if I may say so myself. Fallout is post-apocalypse, radioactive pulp adventure. It is wonderful and weird and just... I love it a whole lot, and was really so excited to get to play this game and to get to play it with Victoria, and then it turned out that we were both huge fans of Fallout. It turned out perfectly. It was exactly good. I can't wait for you to hear it. It's a good episode. You can find more information about Fallout Wasteland Warfare and the Broadswords in the show notes below. Real quick, before we dive in, I have just a few quick plugs to throw at you. First, if you're going to be in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania for PAX Unplugged on December 6th to the 8th, you should definitely meet me up at the convention, talk to me. I'd love to hear from you. I'm going to be there all 3 days. It is a 20-minute trolley ride from my apartment. There's no reason in the world I'd miss it. But this year in particular is very exciting because I'm going to be on 2 separate panels, both about topics that are very close to my heart. Those topics being wrestling and role-playing games. Saturday night at 5:30, I'm going to be moderating a dream panel, which is the shared language of professional wrestling and role-playing games, alongside dear friends of the show, Ian Vaffler, J.R. Goldberg, Kate Nix, Ophidian the Cobra, producer Jen Frank, and myself. We'll all be talking about the weird crossover between professional wrestling and role-playing games. That's a dream panel. That's one that I've wanted to do for years. I'm super excited. And the other panel that I'm going to be on is Friday night at 9 p.m., That is a Smack Talk Showdown tournament in which game devs are going up against pro wrestlers, which is a weird and wonderful thing that's happening that I'm very excited about. So I hope to see you for either of those panels if you're going to be around at PAX. It's going to be a great weekend. I cannot wait. I'm super excited. Speaking of Smack Talk Showdown, a brief plug for their new Kickstarter for a second edition of Smack Talk Showdown as well as a new expansion. Smack Talk Showdown is an apples-to-apples-like party game about professional wrestling promos. It is a game that is obviously pretty close to my heart because I love games, I love wrestling, I love silly party game experiences. It's very good. Please go back to the Kickstarter. You can also find that in the show notes. It's real good. And with all that said, let's go ahead and throw it over to me in the past so that he can get started with the show. Take it past me. Thanks, future me. This week, I'm sitting down with Victoria Rogers. Victoria, thank you so much for coming on Party of One.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited.
I'm super excited. This is gonna be a lot of fun. This is a game that I've wanted to play for a long time, so I'm really excited that we're gonna get into it and sit down to play it.
Yeah. So I love Fallout, but what's funny about it is I don't actually play the video game. I just watch my husband play it.
Oh, good. So we've had the same experience.
I love the world and I love the story, but I don't actually want to play the video game. So I'm really excited about playing the RPG.
Yeah, I played a ton of Fallout 2 when I was in high school. And then I've dabbled with all of the other ones. But otherwise I watch streams and I'll talk to friends about it and I'll read wiki articles, but I don't. So good. I'm glad that we're coming at it from the same level of experience and the same passion points.
Awesome. That is hilarious, because it's not often that you just find that person that you just I just like watching the game.
For sure. Absolutely. So, real quick before we get into the game, why don't you take a moment and let the listeners at home know about all of the stuff that you've got going on that you want them to know about?
I am the DM and producer for The Broadswords, which is on the One Shot Podcast Network. I also have, actually, at the time that this comes out, we'll have probably the new show out, NPCs, which is all about normal, everyday D&D villagers who have to deal with adventurers who come in and fuck their lives up.
Oh my god, this is making my entire day hearing about this.
Yeah, so that's gonna be starting in the fall, and I'm really excited about that show. And Well, at this point in time, the podcasts that I've produced for Wizards of the Coast will be out. So if you want to hear some great fun adventures with like an 8-episode ongoing story, tune into that. You can find it on the Dungeon Delve feed. And I'm going to be on a little stream of Teens in Space with Little Red Dot. And then I think one more thing, a Catacon. If you are going to be in the Dayton, Ohio area, come out to a Catacon on November 8th through 10th. And it's going to be a lot of fun. It's a smaller convention, but it's small enough that you don't get lost. And it's big enough that there's always a game and something for you to do. And it's full of great people.
Yeah, I've come to realize that is my dream level of convention. Is like exactly large enough where there's stuff and where it's not just like one large open room where I feel uncomfortable. But small enough that I don't feel like I am small enough where I don't need time to be overwhelmed. Like with the larger conventions, I have to be I'm setting aside half of my morning to walking around and feeling overwhelmed for a while.
Yes. Yeah, this is it's a Catacon isn't huge. It's still small, but there's enough games going on and there's enough people there that you can always pick up a game. And there's actually I think because it's put on by the RPG Academy, there is a huge number of podcasters and creators who go to it. So it's just a lot of fun as another creator being able to go out and meet all these people that you are in contact with on the Twitterverse all the time. And make new friends and play games.
It's the best. It's what I go to conventions for. So yes, if you're in the Dayton, Ohio area, go to a Catacon. I'm going to be at Metatopia that weekend, but I know enough people going to a Catacon that I can guarantee it's going to be a great time.
Yay.
So, this week, as we've mentioned, we are playing the official Fallout role-playing game, Fallout Wasteland Warfare, the RPG kind of expansion for the miniatures war game. It is set in the world of Fallout. War never changes. The bombs dropped, the vaults closed, and this is the world that survived in the wake of the Great Big Wars. We are playing with what's left behind. So, as we kind of zoom in, why don't you take a moment and introduce us to your character and tell us your story to this point.
All right. We have the introduction of Ms. No Hands. She, or I guess they were once human. And they were a scientist, a robotics scientist, and they were recruited by the Institute, and they were very excited to, do some robotics research. Unbeknownst to them, they were then experimented upon, and the Institute decided that they're going to try to stick human brainwaves in synthetic beings, and that's what they did to her. And she decided she didn't want to be at their beck and call and be a synthetic controlled by the Institute. So she stuck her new synthetic brain in a Mr. Handy Type 1 robot and got the heck out of Dodge.
I mean, understandable. You being... you thought that you were going to be recruited by the people that were going to rebuild the world in the name of science and logic, and then came the scalpels and a whole lot. I feel like I would make the same decision that they did. Yeah, I don't think they're into that. and and now they are a floating robot. Who was, if you're not familiar with the Fallout universe, a Mr. Handy Type 1 is a domestic robot that floats around and can give you a joke on command and, does stuff for you around your base. But this one is it's a person now. It's not just a robot. And so, now that you've gotten out of Dodge, where have you gone since? Where is our story set? What has your life looked like since you've sort of fled from the Institute? Where have you settled, or have you settled at all? What is what does their life look like on a day-to-day level now that they're out in the world of after the bomb?
I am out there working for synthetic rights. And I'm going around trying to find other synthetics, and we're going to try to create a settlement, I guess, for just us, where we can live free of the chains that the Institute have given us.
I love it. So that gives us a very clear picture of, like, I think our story starts kind of in this fledgling settlement, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are we picturing in terms of Fallout aesthetics? What are we picturing for this tiniest settlement, which will kind of put? I think I always like when Fallouts are grounded in a specific, like, real world region. And being that I am in Philadelphia, I'm just gonna say it's, not in Philadelphia, but like around Philadelphia.
Okay.
Not that we need any specific, not that we're going to have any specific geographic reference points, but I always like when you get the montage of, like, Independence Hall, except now it's half run over by super mutants, and
yes,
we kind of settle somewhere off away from the city proper in this small settlement of synths and robotics. What does the settlement look like?
I think it's an old farm.
Perfect.
I'm gonna say it's an old cattle farm because, like, there's the old barns with, like, the milking area, but we've turned those into, like, computer labs.
I can see it for sure.
Yeah. And then because, like, we don't really not all of us really need sleep and stuff, so, like, it's more like communal areas for us. It's an old farm. So there's, like, the old farmhouse, there's the old cattle barn, and then there's, like, an old silo that's been turned, I don't know, into a tower. Right.
So just for my own sake, so we're kind of out, I think this is sort of out in, like, Fallout Amish country, like, okay. Pennsylvania Dutch, it's about an hour and a half outside of the city, and it's a lot of so it's all very kind of rustic, old, like, these look like old, these would have looked like old barns in the old world.
Okay.
Which gives the sort of sci-fi makeover that they've kind of been given sort of a fun twist, in that now they've got, like, armor plating on one side, and there's Tesla coils zapping up along them, and they're not doing anything, but they're there and they look cool.
Yeah, they look cool. They're fun. And I think there's, like, a well, like a water hand pump in the middle of this, just for fun.
Yeah, and I think that it's got, like, it's got cables kind of looping the inside that you kind of see, like, a flash of light that kind of runs down the length of the well.
Yep.
Don't know what that's running to, but I think it's a visual that we see, that there's, like, lights blinking, and it's a very stark contrast between, like, very old world architecture and design coupled with robotics and synths, and we see a lot of this as a figure in a trench coat and a hat walks through this area, is friendly with a few robots, and Itron floats by and gives a tip of the trilby, and looks at a Mr. Handy milking a Brahmin, which is a two-headed cow, of course.
Yep.
And is milking and gives a little bit of a wave, but also at the same time the robots and the we see a few synths which are, like, humanoid androids. They are virtually indistinguishable from people. We see a few of them walking around, and everybody is cordial, right? Like, this is a friendly settlement. There's no, it feels, the atmosphere in the air is that there's not a sense of danger.
Okay.
But as we're watching this figure in a trench coat walk by, people are still giving him a certain level of distance, and sort of, like, smiling and nodding, and then sort of cutting a wide arc. Which brings me to my next question. What is your home or workshop or, like, base of operations look like?
I think I have a floor in the silo.
Okay.
And it is full of old computer parts. and robot bits and bobs. And I think... No, I can't do that because I guess I could, but I wouldn't be very skilled. Yeah, like I'm just there trying to do more research on synthetics, and my focus is how to be able to like put out like almost like a pulse or a wave to like get synthetics here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But just targeting synthetics.
Sure. So you're kind of we open on you kind of fiddling with like radio equipment and like tweaking, fixing vacuum tubes on an old radio.
Mm-hmm.
When you hear the distinct noise of a somewhat restored cherry picker, because what I'm picturing in this silo is that like it was a silo, so it was like a one floor thing full of grain that like floors have been added onto.
Yes.
And there are like sections cut out to turn them into windows, and it has been sort of converted into a robotic apartment building.
Yes, that's exactly it. With my antennas on the roof.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you hear is the distinct noise of a restored cherry picker. And it's kind of giving a ka-chunk, ka-chunk. And it's like, it's not a smooth glide and finally it comes to sort of your side, your floor of the side of the tower. And somebody steps off onto sort of one of the little makeshift landings, which is all, reconverted like white, like chain link fences, and kind of steps through an opening through an outside door into your office. Puts down a suitcase on like a footstool and just says, "Hands off." Now let me ask you.
Okay.
Obviously this is a fixer. This is somebody that knows people, makes connections. What is your relationship like with this fixer who is, we'll say, a cyborg? So half like robotic parts put onto a person.
Mm-hmm. Like, what are my thoughts of them?
I'd say I think you have some kind of, you've interacted with them before. Okay. What is your relationship like?
With this individual?
Yes. Who will name, Mr. I think he goes by Mr. Tin Man.
Mr. Tin Man, the fixer. I think it's good. I think we trust Mr. Tin Man enough. But like, this is the person in the trilby, and yep. Okay, yeah. So I think this relationship is newer.
Okay.
It's maybe, let's say, the fourth time or so we've dealt with each other. So we're at a point now where, okay, so trust is being made. Yep. We're building that trust, but it's not entirely there. This is still just a working relationship.
That makes sense. So I think that he steps in, he puts down the suitcase, and so he doesn't. I think there are like maybe not chairs, but maybe like boxes and things that he could use to sit on, but he doesn't sit. He puts down the suitcase, but he doesn't sit, and just kind of waits for you to acknowledge after he just says like, "Hands off."
State your purpose.
To the point. Can't say I don't respect that. We've all got things to do. I have an opportunity for you. I won't call it a job, but I'll call it an opportunity.
Does this opportunity benefit me?
I would say so. I mean, it benefits. It's certain. When I say an opportunity, I guess what I really mean is it's a favor for a friend. And obviously, friends benefit all of us, but I think in this case, this friend might be able to help with any kind of gestures. I think he gestures with he's got a gun in his hand, but it's clear like he's got the safety on it, but he's still kind of holding it because you never know.
Right.
And he kind of gestures towards like your radio. While not pointing at it like I'm going to shoot it, but kind of points with the gun as like, I think it could benefit your project woes.
What kind of favor?
Well, you see, I hesitate to bring up the name because I know that we've all got. And he kind of taps a metal. He taps kind of a like the Terminator or the Kano from Mortal Kombat like eyepiece.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of taps and he's like, we've all got associations with the Institute, but if I'm being 100% open, you got out, which means that if you were to get in, you could then get out again.
You see, like, my buzzsaw goes a few times.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this Mr. Tinman has dealt with me enough that you can tell when I'm upset. That is my signal.
Sure.
My tell. I never want to have to go back there again.
I wouldn't ask you to if I didn't think that you were the only person that could get somebody else out. You see, my friend is also looking to what's the phrase you keep using? Get out of Dodge. My friend is looking to get out of Dodge, and there's an enclave of Institute researchers. They're not quite the main ones out of the Commonwealth, but they're trying to franchise out the project in a different region. And frankly, my friend is... the clock is ticking. And there's an opportunity for him to escape, but he needs somebody to help him get out. And if I'm being honest, I think you might be the only person that can do that. And if you say no, that's fine. But know that I don't want to play the emotion card, but you'd be helping somebody else get out of the position that you were in once upon a time.
Who is this person?
Name is Mr. Gray. You know how we do in the industry. We kind of keep it last name professional.
Do I know this name?
You don't. You don't. You've actually kept a pretty good... actually, why don't we call this... I think this is an opportunity for a skill roll.
Ooh.
I think this is an opportunity for specifically a know-how roll. Let me pull up the full list of skills. I can tell you what... Yeah, I think this is a know-how science roll that's probably pretty easy.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you a +2 bonus on it. Because I think that your background in, science means that you probably know, the big-time movers and the shakers around, especially, the Institute, since you've got a background with them.
Okay. So, because I have, a specialty, or not a specialty, but, it's an expertise in science know-how, that means I get an extra black die?
That is correct.
Haha.
That is correct. You also won't suffer the unskilled penalty. So, what you're going to do is how skill rolls work in Fallout. You're going to roll your skill dice, which is a 20-sided dice with distinct numbers and icons, as well as a black effect dice, which is a 12-sided dice, akin to but separate from Fantasy Flight Genesis dice. Mm-hmm. So you're going to roll both of these dice. You want to match or exceed the number written on... Oh no, you want to get equal to or lower than the skill value listed on your character's playmat.
Okay, and so this is under intelligence?
Yes, so you want to get... what is your intelligence skill value?
6.
So you're going to add 2 to that. You want to get under an 8.
Okay. And I have a gift of eidetic memory.
Okay.
Which, let me see what page, because I think that gives me bonuses to int rolls.
So it means that most int rolls would be automatic successes. I don't think this one is, but what I will say is that you can ask a question about, you've heard sort of, what I'll say is you remember hearing talk of Mr. Gray.
Okay.
So I'll allow you to ask me a question about like what you've heard or, related to, and then if you succeed at the roll, you'll get some really valuable information of like, you'll get some valuable information and get to ask me a question, but you'll get to ask me kind of a question about what I'll call the cult of personality around Mr. Gray either way.
Okay. So I have my white die, I have my black die, and you said I got 2 something or other?
A +2 to your skill value, so your skill value for this is 8.
Great. Okay. So
and the back die is more likely to have an increased effect. It has different symbols on it, which will make it like more. Your skill roll will be more successful,
unless I get the -1.
Unless you get the negative.
No, I guess the negative. If you want to be under, that's a good thing.
That's a good thing. Yes, that is a good thing because that makes your skill more likely to succeed.
Okay, so it's kind of like Star Trek Adventures has the same system where you have to roll lower.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I rolled a 6 and 2 POWs.
Okay, great. A POW adds 1 to the total impact. So that means that you've gotten 3 impact because you rolled under your skill value.
Okay.
So actually, I'm going to say you can ask me. I'm going to tell you what you've heard, what you remember, what you clearly, undeniably remember about Mr. Gray, and then you can ask me 3 questions.
Ooh, okay.
What you remember is that Mr. Gray was a big name. People talked about Mr. Gray in hushed tones. Mr. Gray was like Mr. Gray came in right before you were sort of betrayed by the Institute. And even though it was in a different part of the country, people talked about Mr. Gray like it was like having him on board with the Institute was game changing, life changing.
Okay.
And so, but like no one that you knew had any like in-person interactions with him. But there were moments where people would be like, there was a meeting with Mr. Gray, and they would just like produce, they would come with notes, and like 4 Institute scientists would sequester themselves for like 3 days after getting notes from a meeting with Mr. Gray.
Okay. So Mr. Gray is smart. Maybe.
Unbelievably.
Okay.
Like it seems like Mr. Gray's intellect could have changed everything for the Institute. But like was so mysterious that no one directly interacted with him.
Okay. So, my first question.
Mm-hmm.
What is Mr. Gray's specialty?
Mr. Gray's specialty seemed to be, like, he seemed to be an ideas guy, in that, like, I'm gonna say you saw some of his notes one time, and it was a lot of, like, requires certain theorem to be worked out before this plan can be implemented.
Okay.
Like it was ideas that were so complex that we just weren't there, that like the Institute just wasn't there yet, and had to work on part A to get to part Z, which is what Mr. Gray was like pitching to us.
Okay. So did Mr. Gray's work involve synthetics?
Yes. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say, in as much as like everything in the Institute involved synthetics at some point, especially once the Institute decided that that's where they were going, there was the notes that you saw was about like a way to, let's make this the most enticing. There were theorems bandied about like a global synth communication, something that the Institute theorized could be turned into a hive mind system, but that was also just like a central nexus point where all synths in like a given radius that could theoretically have been worldwide, but again, they were talking, this was Mr. Gray talking point Z when we were at point A.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That could have connected all synths across a given space to have like a single conscious thought.
definitely do not want the Institute to have their hands on that.
That would be bad.
Yeah, that would be very bad. Okay, so...
And so you can kind of understand why, maybe why, I mean, and maybe Mr. Gray had the same thought. He clearly wants to get out.
Okay, so I guess I have one more question.
Okay.
Mr. Gray. I have to think like a robot. Mr. Gray. Well, a human that is now a robot.
Sure.
So ideas guy, top down, global synth system.
Before synths, he had a lot of ideas about transportation, is the other thing.
Okay, global synth and transportation. Do I have any inkling of why he would want to leave?
You do. And the simplest answer, you do, and you don't know if it's the most rational. I thought, but you know your experience with the Institute.
Mm-hmm.
You saw how they treated you.
Yeah.
You got to assume that if they got the impulse, they don't see people as people. They see people as a means to experiment to a successful experiment. So there's no say. So it could have been it could be maybe he grew a conscience and wanted to get out that way. Maybe they turned on him and they were going to use him.
Okay. All right. So Mr. Tin Man mentions Mr. Gray's name.
Mm-hmm.
And so you see this buzzsaw start whirling, and I start kind of like floating back and forth, almost like I'm pacing across my office. I stop, at the table where the briefcase was left, opposite side from Mr. Tin Man. I make contact with my 3 eyes. Fine. What's in this? And I nod down at the briefcase.
And he solemnly goes to open it, puts in a key, puts in his 3-digit combination, slides it over, pops it open, and it's like socks and underwear, and he's like, this is just mine. This is just mine. I just wanted to mess with you a little bit. He's like, I can send you the files digitally. I just figure, it's transportation as much as aesthetics. You get it.
Right. And at that, you see one of my robot arms come around and pull the ratty pink house coat that I wear over top. It was this was my favorite house coat from when I was human. And it has gone with me everywhere. It's been darned. There are some permanent stains on it now, mainly oil stains.
Sure.
But it's something I keep from that time period when I was a bipedal being. And I guess I understand.
Good. I'm glad.
All right.
And I think he taps some buttons on he taps a button on his ear, and you get a little ping. You get a little ping in your HUD display that is a map, a very Fallout looking region map with keyed notes on here's where we roughly believe their base to be, and here's here's a raider enclave that's not far off. Whether you want to avoid that or use it, it's there, and it's stuff like that. It's just various details about the area around this supposed Institute base.
So I'm examining this map. This raider base. Do you know if they have any contact with the Institute? What's their relationship like?
What I know... Remember how I said Mr. Gray had a chance to get out?
Mm-hmm.
I think they probably had something to do with that, but not in an intentional way. I think they may have smashed their way into an outer wall, and Mr. Gray maybe saw a chance to escape.
Okay. Well, maybe we can get them to attack again, and in the chaos, we can get them out.
I like the way you think.
Well, the more Institute people that are dead, the better for me.
Hey, you know what? You're not going to hear any complaints from me.
All right, let's go scout out some raiders.
Okay. So, it's about an hour. Like, I'm going to say it's like a few hours walk, right? Like, you probably... When do you leave and when do you arrive? Like, it takes a few hours.
It doesn't really matter for me, because I can just go whenever.
That's true.
But I think I bow to Mr. Tinman's abilities, and go when it's easiest for Tin Man.
Tin Man's eye changes from red to green, and he says, we should head out at nightfall. Because, we'll be fine.
Okay.
But I don't want to get to a raider camp. I don't want to be... Let's put it this way. I don't want to be two strangers walking into a raider camp in the middle of the night.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like a not great approach for us.
Yep. Let the raiders kind of like... Why don't we get there first thing in the morning? Because the raiders will probably be hungover and sleepy and not quite there.
I think we're on the exact same page.
Okay.
So we get a very Fallout travel montage, right? The overland map.
Yes.
What's one interesting Fallout thing that you see between here and the raider camp?
We see an old service station.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a ghoul who runs the store there now. And I like the ghoul. We have a good relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Runs a vegetable stand.
Yes. Not that I really need vegetables, but we they give us information, and we go out there and help him out when he needs it. Yeah.
You pass by the ghoul's vegetable stand, Mr. Tin Man buys a we'll call it like a super radish. Where it's like 3 radishes glued together.
And it's radiated because it's a radish anyway. I'm excited about that. Anyway.
And he's just kind of noshing on it as you continue to walk. I think you also see like a city water tower that the top has been like blown off of it.
Mm-hmm.
And you just look up and you see like a family of super mutants are like grabbing big giant bowls, and by bowls I mean like full-size tires, and like drinking from it and splashing in it, and they're just making it their home.
Okay, it's like a hot tub for super mutants.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is. They're all sitting around it with their arms on the side, just like one of them has what looks like a full-size tree branch, but he's smoking it like a cigar, and it's just they're just enjoying themselves.
We just go on by because I do not want to provoke the super mutant family.
I think Tin Man gives you a nod, like I think that's the right idea.
Yeah, they're having a great time though. Good on them.
You get to the raider camp. There's about six or eight of them sitting around. Very Mad Max looking, very classic Fallout Raider outfits. Some of them in Mad Max gear, some of them in like punk rock vests with headbands. One of them's grilling up a mole rat. There's you see a half carved out rad scorpion corpse that they're like feasting on. They're clearly like, and one of them, I think they see you coming. One of them stands up and points like a musket at you. 2 others kind of grab crowbars. And an old woman puts up a hand and is just like, wait. What do you want? State your purpose.
We just want to talk.
You want to talk, then talk. I think this is going to be a skill roll. I think I'd like to make a skill roll first to see what you see, how this goes for us.
All right. And
so this is going to be a charisma roll.
Okay, so that is a 5.
Okay.
And what does the little symbol with like the beep 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 symbol mean?
That's a good question. Let me check one thing I like about this game is that means that you have an expertise in presence.
Okay.
Which, let's see if that applies here. It might.
Oh.
Yeah, I would absolutely allow that.
Okay.
Let's call this a presence roll.
All right.
So you're gonna get that black die. You're gonna not take a penalty for it.
Woohoo! I like that you understood what beep 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 meant.
100%, which is fascinating to me now that you lay that out.
Okay. All right, I've got there's like the cog with an X on the white die.
Okay.
And I got a POW.
Okay. So what that means is the X icon means you have failed.
Oh.
It means whatever has happened, you have failed.
Great.
As it is not a number, you cannot make that a success.
Okay.
However, you also get an action point. Action points can be used to carry out quick actions, minor activities, and like other special things.
All right. So I'm okay.
And then for your impact, what I'll say is because you got that impact, I'm going to let you name an advantage as well as hold on to that action point.
Okay.
So we'll call this a failure with advantage.
Okay. I think the advantage is, okay, so they've got like their rad scorpion and their mole rat, but I think they look kind of hungry. And I would like for my action to like open my belly and pull out some Brahmin steaks and offer it to them.
I'll buy that. I think that you offer it to them and the woman kind of walks up. So what do you say as she's kind of taking the Brahmin steaks and handing them off to the other raiders who start like, some of them are firing them up. One of them just starts carving it. And like so I think one of the raiders takes out like a butterfly knife and really like effortlessly does it. And then carves the slightest sliver, puts it on a little skewer and starts like grilling it like it's Korean barbecue.
Yes.
There's one gourmand here.
And I make a mental note of that person. You know, that person, just because they're raider, they're not going to let their desire of the finer things in life get in the way. So as I say, I just say there's more where this came from. We just need a little diversion.
We're not much in the business of diverting.
Well, diversion, raid a base, same things.
This wouldn't have anything to do with that robot nest a couple clicks over, would it?
I need to make sure he's not talking about my robot nest. Which robot nest is that?
One that we tried to raid about couple days ago. Didn't go so great, and there's a reason there's 8 of us and not 14 of us.
Ah, yes, that is the place I'm talking about.
Well, I mean, if you count the numbers, there were 14 of us and there's 8 of us now, so we're not exactly keen on going down there and getting blown to shits and smithereens again. But we will take your Brahmin steaks, and hey, let's put it this way. If you come back this way and there happen to be some Institute types following you, we'll put some lead in them.
You know, I would definitely appreciate that. Just as a, since, this gesture of goodwill and all, would you be able to share some of the lay of the land of that base?
If you mean the hole we blew in the side of it, we can tell you where that is 100%.
Okay, yeah, that would be great, as well as, what we would be up against to go in there.
Well, the main thing is, and she kind of like grabs some paper. She grabs like some she just grabs like a book and like starts writing over it, so it's not exactly easy to read.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like drawing on it, and she's like, "So, you want to dodge the machine gun silos? That was the mistake that we made on the outside. There's about like 2 or 3 of them. You see, that was really our big slip up. If we could go back, hindsight being 2020, that's where I would dodge it.
Okay.
Once you get inside, the synth sentries and Institute soldiers, like bullets to them is a bullet to us. So, I'd say that's a little bit easier, but the main things are, if you go, and she like kind of gives you a map that kind of lays out that there's like a hilly kind of overpass to it.
Mm-hmm.
If you go up this way, then you're not gonna, then you can get kind of a top level view of it. You'll see where we kind of ran downhill. You'll probably see the corpses. They don't exactly seem like they're the cleanup type. And you'll see the hole, and you should be able to like kind of slip past most of it. That said, we did find some mole rat tunnels that were pretty wide open, that like underneath that, if you go up to that hill, you should find some tunnels that should take you pretty close to where that entrance is. It'll get you past the silos. Kind of wish we knew they were there beforehand.
Understood. That's extremely helpful.
We try to do right by the people that do right by us, and while I ain't exactly willing to bring my family to the firing squad again, if we can help you, get in there and grab whatever bits and doodles you're probably after, then we'll be happy to do it.
Is there anything in particular that you're in need of?
Well, guns are always pretty great because, I don't know if you know this about bullets, but they run out pretty quick.
Guns and bullets, understood. See if I can find some ammo packs for you.
Well, damn kind of you. What'd you say your name was?
Ms. No Hands.
Miss No Hands. Well, they call me Old Mama. Damn fine to meet you. Nice
to meet you, Old Mama. All right. Well, Tin Man, ready to go?
Yeah, it's worked out a lot better than I thought, honestly. I'm pretty pleased with myself.
Yeah, I think we have some mole rat tunnels to go through.
Oh boy, that sounds like a great afternoon.
Don't worry, I'll go first, and then I shoot some flames out of my flamethrower.
Oh, No Hand's got a flamethrower. How about that? And Mr. Tin Man looks back and is just like, yeah, learned that the hard way.
Buzz, buzz, flame, flame.
And so we cut through the mole rat tunnels. They're cramped and dirty and dusty. And you can hear at one point overhead machine gun fire. And it is ballistic, anti-tank, anti-aircraft machine gun fire.
Ooh.
From one of these towers. And you see some of the bullets tear through the mole rat tunnels. And it's not directed at you, but you hear somebody overhead get lit up.
Well, glad we're down here.
Goddamn right. And you come out of the mole rat tunnels on the base of a pretty steep hill, just in time to see you kind of look out and see a hole blasted in the side of some kind of institute lab. It doesn't look like any that you've seen before. The architecture is different, and it's kind of, it looks like it's half above ground and half underground in a weird way, but there's a hole blown in the side of it. And that's probably something.
Yeah, okay, so there is so there's this hole.
Yeah.
Is there, that I can see from kind of sticking my head out, any large pieces of debris that I could, be pretending to fix things with?
There absolutely are. I'm going to say you can find exactly what you need to kind of pull off, to kind of start to do this sort of, charade, and then I will ask you for a skill roll to see if it's successful or not.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm just going to, like, be going out and, like, just singing in a robot voice, just like, do, 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 how may I serve you? And, like, pretending to try to, like, be cleaning up the mess in a mindless robot fashion.
Right. I'm trying to decide if I want this to be. I think we're gonna call this stealth.
Okay, stealth.
But I will give you a I will give you a +2 because as you're doing this, you see there's like a few Itrons floating around. There's a few other Mr. Handies like doing similar work, so you can blend in.
Mm-hmm.
And then because I believe unless you have the stealth skill, I believe you are unskilled at that.
I am unskilled.
Then you're going to take it. So you're going to end up with a -2 to your skill value.
Okay, and so stealth is ruled by agility. So that's 2. Oh no. But you gave me a +2.
Yeah.
So it's at 4.
Right.
Okay. So, and it's just the white die.
Yeah.
Okay. Nope, that's a 6.
Perfect. I think that. I mean, I know exactly what it is. You do it exactly right. Like you've watched enough Mr. Handy's work and enough of these robots work. You know, you do it exactly right. And if you weren't wearing a bright pink frilly house coat, it would probably have worked perfect.
Yeah, I maybe didn't think that part through.
Would have worked flawlessly if you didn't have that. I think an iBot like floats down and is like, "Oh, you know what it is? I'm gonna put you in a tough spot." An iBot floats down and is like, "Attention! You have debris on your back," and like, basically like tries to like it starts blowing a fan or like a wind gun, like almost like a leaf blower. Like it's got a leaf blower kind of like what's the word, like welded to the bottom of it, and it starts blowing it to try to blow your house coat off.
Oh dear. And I start like going in oh dear robot mode, and like start like shifting back and forth to try to like let this house coat be like blown off. I'm still working it. I'm trying.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call this, in this case, I'm gonna call this a deception.
Deception. I am not skilled at that. So that means I get a -1?
You subtract your value by 4. I'm gonna say it balances out though, because I think Mr. Tin Man comes in and tries to assist and like tries to grab it off of you and be like, "I'll help. I am helping," and like is just like trying to be more of a robot than he clearly is, but like is like, "Fuck it, we got to do something."
Yeah, okay, so my charisma then is 5. So just roll the white die.
Yeah, roll the white die.
It's an exclamation mark.
An exclamation mark is let me double check it. I believe that is like either a success or a critical success.
So listeners, there is an entire page, 3 columns worth of symbols in this game.
Yeah, there's a lot.
And I'm trying to find them, and woo! Oh, here we go.
Yep.
Critical point.
This is a critical point, which counts as a 1, which means you are absolutely undeniably successful.
All right.
You also get a critical point, which means you could use the critical effects of weapons or similar things. So what I'm going to say is what is especially successful about your joint? Obviously, you get like the iBot like floats off and is like, "Well, my job here is done. Yeah. Glory to the Institute," and like floats off. And then like, what is the other added benefit that comes from this especially fruitful success?
All the other robots around are like now completely ignoring us, and I think because of the the commotion, like the moving around with the wind, I think they all kind of moved away from that spot. So that we could go in.
Love it.
Must get cleaned
so
up.
It's wide. So the room is wide open.
Yeah. And then you just hear, must get clean, malfunction. And I go through the hole.
You go through the hole, you start wandering these hallways. It's a lot of like, the coloration on the walls is weird. The lights and the computer screens are all very weird. It's not your normal Institute enclave.
Okay. Do I see any computer terminals?
You absolutely do.
Oh, I am hacking into a computer terminal to find out a map of the region.
Okay.
And like any cool things that I can do, like open an airlock or, activate security drones, something,
So that's going to be a computer's role.
Yes.
I'm going to actually give you a -2 to this.
Okay,
Because you get into this terminal and immediately, you're pretty freaking good at computers. Yeah. And this is speaking a whole different language than you are ready for.
Oh,
this
dear.
is an operating system you are not familiar with. This isn't, putting aside the fact that this has Institute level security on it, this also just, feels like it's like a computer system that you've never seen before.
Okay. So I'm also kind of trying to remember how this works, but I have an eidetic memory, so that works. Okay, so this, you said it was -2, but I do, yep. I have expertise in it. I keep on wanting to say proficiency, but different system. Yeah, so I got a black die, and computers is intelligence for me. Now, I'm a tech wizard gearhead.
Yep, It is specifically related to compute. You get a +2 specifically to computer, so that's going to balance that out.
Okay, so that is 6 then.
Okay.
Okay, I got a failure but an impact, so it's that X with the cog.
Okay, so you've got another action point. You can do another quick, so you've got 2 action points you can hold on to for 2 quick actions.
And then I've got, I don't know what the symbol is. It looks like a broken military helmet.
That is armor reduction. So it reduces their resistances.
Okay.
So what I will say is that what that means in this instance is you're able to get through the security systems, right? Mm-hmm. Which actually I'll say that, you fail. You don't get a map, but you are able to shut down the automated security.
Okay.
So you can move freely through the tunnels without worrying about security cameras and such, but you don't have a map or you can't shut off the airlocks or anything.
Okay, you know what? That's good enough. Hopefully we can be quick so that they don't notice that their security system's down.
Yeah, I think you've got a few minutes, and I think Tin Man sort of leans in as so the cameras are off, so we should probably two-step it.
Agreed. And I guess we start walking around and peering indoors?
Yeah. You wander around a little bit. I'm gonna ask you for one last stealth roll.
Okay.
Before we get to the big finale.
So this is -2?
Yes, and I'm gonna say it balances out because you have Tin Man there helping.
Okay.
And there's a specific helping mechanic that I don't remember, and I don't exactly know where to look it up. So we're just gonna continue to call it a balance of +2.
Well, guess who just got a critical point again?
Perfect. So what that looks. So tell me. So what you find. You find where Mr. Gray is being held. Oh. What else do you find?
So Mr. Gray's being held.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So Mr. Gray is being held confined in a,
or partially it's a glass. You find him in a glass tube with kind of fluid and gas floating through it. And the glass tube has been partially shattered.
Uh-ohs.
and like like there's gas and fluid like all over the floor, and you just see Mr. Gray kind of sitting cross-legged. I'll describe what Mr. Gray looks like in a moment, but what is the advantage you get from your critical point?
There is no one else but Mr. Gray here, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to have to fight anyone if I don't have to.
Okay. So the thing about Mr. Gray is, especially given the name, you figured that he would have been. He's certainly greener than you expect. Head's a lot bigger than any of the humans that you've hung around, even the Institute types, which can be, odd science types. Got a few fewer fingers than your average person.
Mm-hmm.
He sort of only got the 3 very long, spindly fingers. Loving the spacesuit, though.
Yeah.
Like, it's a cool aesthetic look. And he's just kind of sitting patiently. He's like, you can see, like, the cracks in it are not quite large enough for, like, a being to fit through. And so he's just kind of is periodically, like, kind of jabbing at it. Also just kind of sitting and, like, is just kind of sitting and, like, tapping buttons on the spacesuit. Buttons that don't do anything at this point because he's not actually in space, but he's just kind of like, yeah, whatever, it's fine.
Yeah, that's great. All right. I guess I'm going to float on in. Say, Mr. Gray.
Oh, so you're the one, Mr. Tin Man. I'm sorry. I was excited to see my friend. I would not mean to be rude to my rescuer. Hello, I am Mr. Well, the name that the Institute gave me was Mr. Gray. I could give you my real name, but it's a whole thing.
You know what? I believe in valuing people's true names, so why don't you give that a go?
My real name is Zentrock Sorbe. We'll go with let me think. Let me give a cool alien name real quick. My name is Zentrock Zortaris.
Zortaris. You know I did that on purpose, right?
Oh no, I appreciate that. That was good. I appreciate that.
Well, Zentrock Zortaris.
You can just call me Zentrock. It's cool.
Okay, Zentrock. I'm Ms. No Hands.
We're all friends here.
Though, if we're going true names, and I glance at Tin Man, I was once Cynthia.
Cynthia, it is a pleasure to me. Which would you prefer?
I've embraced Ms. No Hands.
Ms. No Hands, it's a fine pleasure to meet you.
It was a fine pleasure to meet you. Now, if you just step back, I can get you out of there. Buzz, buzz, bzz.
All right, well, be careful, because obviously the glass is very sharp, and, just because I don't need the spacesuit, the gas is in the air here, but I will have to put the bubble helmet on pretty much as soon as I'm fully out of the tube.
Okay. Understood. Can we replicate this back, wherever you needed to be?
Oh, this is really easy. All we really need is like a I assume you've got like an ion disruptor like laser cutter?
At my base?
Right. No, right. Sorry. I forget sometimes. Okay, so to build the ion laser cutter, we would then need the ion laser, which means sorry, I get like 6 levels ahead and I need to kind of scale it back to what the humans could do, and then obviously with the bomb, I need to kind of scale it back a little further.
Right.
And as he's talking, I think you've got time to cut this.
I'm buzzing, Bzzz, so that he can get out.
All right. You cut the hole pretty easily as he's just like hands on the forehead, like. So really, the first thing that we need is, do you have a heater? Oh, there's a hole.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
If we hurry it on up, we can get out of here before they discover I disabled the security cameras.
And so the 3 of you make your way out. The 3 of you make your way out. Well, I should say the 2 of you. You turn around and Tin Man is gone, as well as what appear to be several, like, discs and files.
Ah.
Yeah, well, I mean, Not the most reliable, but, you keep your enemies close and your friends closer, is a saying that I've heard used on Earth, which I quite like.
Yeah, this isn't very surprising.
It is what it is.
All right. Is there any ammo around? And as, we're leaving, I'm looking for ammo.
He, laughs for a second. He goes, this was an alien spaceship at one point. I mean, there's ammo and there's guns, but they won't exactly be compatible with your weapons. But, I mean, if you want an alien laser gun, I mean, you're in luck.
I have heard about those.
All right.
Yeah. Let's go raid the armory.
He pulls you aside to a wall and pushes what does not even appear to be a keyboard, and it slides open and you get 3 alien pulse rifles and some ammo cells, and he's like, do you have a storage compartment or?
Oh yeah, and I open it up.
And he stores those in there. There you go, golden. We should probably head out before, and there is a sentry bot standing directly in front of you, and it's right between you and the tunnel.
Okay.
Or you in where the hole has been blasted. It has not made a move yet, but it's got its minigun. It's got his minigun pointed at you, and it's you have to stop.
Taking prisoner for extermination. Please step aside.
Give me a deception with a black dice. I'm gonna give you a -2 because you're untrained, but you know the right things to say because of your background in the Institute.
Okay.
But this is an Institute sentry bot.
Okay. So...
which I believe means you have to pass an intelligence or charisma roll right now.
Yes. So, because you said this is deception. So for me, deception is... well, that's charisma. And you said -2, so that's 3. Yep. Okay, unless we do intelligence, and then it's 4.
Give it intelligence.
Okay. Okay. So I got the X and the cog, and a POW.
Okay. So what happens is you know the right things to say, but it I'm gonna say it turns its. I'm gonna say the cog. What you get here is I'm gonna say you fail, but
okay,
or rather you succeed, but is what I'm gonna say. I think success here is worse because this robot, this sentry bot, it looks at you and it looks at Mr. Gray and it nods and it turns and starts to walk out and throws you a wave, and it says to you, glory to the Institute. You're doing great, soldier.
Glory to the Institute. This way, prisoner.
How much did that kill you to have to say?
It sucks. It sucks a lot. However, I am thrilled that I just got an alien buddy.
For sure.
Because this is going to set the Institute back so much. The only other thing that I could possibly want to do is to blow this alien ship up so that they don't get anything else from it.
You've got a few moments if you want to try to hack that keypad again.
Well, especially now that I have my alien buddy. Yes.
That's
true. So once that the sentry bot goes out and I'm dying inside having to say that. But I look at Zentrock. Zentrock, these people can't be trusted, and would you give me a hand? And I don't know, do you have a self-destruct option on this thing?
Oh, of course we do. What warship wouldn't have a self-destruct function for pretty much this exact situation? And if I wasn't, the only one that survived out of the spaceship, and they didn't point a bunch of guns at me, well, then I would have done this months ago.
Okay.
Hell, maybe years ago.
Oh, geez. Well, let's do it, shall we?
Let's do it.
So we go. We go to the thing.
So, so you're gonna make your computers roll. I'm gonna cancel out the penalty because you have him kind of talking you through it.
Okay.
And I'm gonna allow you to roll in addition to your black die for having an expertise skill.
Okay. And because I have my Tech Wizard Gearhead, so that gives me +2, so that's 8 that I have.
And you've got a skill value of 8.
Mm-hmm.
You're rolling a black dice for having expertise. Mm-hmm. And you're going to roll a black, yellow, or green, a dice of your choice.
Okay, what is the difference between...
I will explain that to you as soon as I find the page that it is written on. There it is. So black dice will increase effect. The yellow dice will avoid an effect being blocked. And the green dice will make your effect more likely to succeed.
Okay, I want a green dice.
All right.
I think I want to succeed.
Yeah, you only want to do the one thing, and this is...
I want to blow it up like on a timer so that I can get out.
Well, let me ask you this, because this is going to have to be... I think to blow this up is going to be an impact of 2.
Okay.
And which means you have to get 2 under your skill value to succeed at that.
Okay. So I need to get 6.
Yeah.
Okay.
So do you want the green dice to get a lower result, or do you want the black dice, which is more likely to just give you extra impact?
Yeah. Maybe an extra black die then, just so that I get that extra impact just in case.
Makes sense.
Okay. Okay, I got a cog and 2 POWs.
A cog counts as a 1, so that is a success. So you got 3 impact. So what's the other thing that you succeed at?
Okay.
You've set the ship to go off. You've set the timer. What's the third thing?
I set the timer. I set it's gonna go off. Okay. Can I think I'm going to... Can I, like, disable the computers from any of the robots or synths around?
Yeah.
So that, like, they're now on their own?
For sure.
Yeah.
100%.
So that's what I'm going to do. So that way these robots, like, can, like, they've got, let's say, 10 minutes, and they can be like, okay, let's get out.
Yep, exactly what happens.
That's what I do. I finish all my things with Zentrock. Let's get out at the tunnel.
And the two of you flee. Do you get on the... So, do you let the robots know, or do you just trust them to figure it out?
I think I say just one word, flee.
Okay.
I just want it quick.
Yeah, for sure. You hit the button, you say flee, the two of you run. Robots, you see robots scattering, iBots are flying this, that way, other way. And, everyone is scrambling. You make it to the mole tunnels. You make it to the mole rat tunnels just in time for the whole place to go up. You hear it. You see behind you, like, everything goes pitch black for a moment until your night vision turns on. Because, like, the entire hill behind you, like, collapses. So you can't go back.
Right.
And Zentrock actually kind of just sits on the back of a wall for a moment and goes, so I'm not saying that wasn't the right thing to do. Obviously, I said myself I would have done this months ago, but it is worth noting that was my only ticket home, so to speak. So if you'll indulge me in these cramped dirt tunnels, which is this you or is this nature? Obviously, I'm unfamiliar with the local terrain.
This is nature, or mole rat home.
If you indulge me for a few moments in these nature tunnels, I'd like to mourn that.
I understand. And did I lose my house coat? Or did we just pretend and then... Or was it completely, like, blown off and then, like, the bot sucked it up with their leaf blower when it reverses?
What do you think?
I think it got sucked up by the leaf blower. Because like he blew it off and then like, you know how you can reverse it to like pick it all up. I think that's what happened. And I think I just kind of like zoom over next to Zentrack. I understand. I lost my favorite house coat. It's all I had left from when
Morning
I was
complete.
human.
Let's get out of here.
Okay. We can do that. I don't know if you want to join us, but we've got a settlement of synths and robots, and we're working on some pretty good technological stuff, and you know, maybe you could help us out, and maybe we can help you get home. Or at least get a message.
Now, understand a slight amount of reticence around, you know, I will ask one question, because you have to understand my interactions with organized group of robots and synths providing scientific advice for them has not been great to present.
Understood.
Will I be free to walk around, or will I be contained to the tube?
Oh, you can... Freedom is paramount.
Oh, well, that's way better then. That sounds great.
I too was once a prisoner of the Institute.
Oh.
And in fact, most people in the settlement were at some point. And we fight against them.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, you'll be in company who understands your plight.
Well, that sounds pretty nice. You know, after as long as I've been where I was, that sounds pretty damn fine.
Great. First, if you don't mind, I do have to bring some of these weapons to some raiders. And I think when we approach them, maybe you should stay hidden.
I think the last thing that we see is, you know, he smiles. He's like, I trust you. I trust you to the ends of the earth. And the last thing that we see is like a montage shot of some old public domain jazz music is playing. And it's like all about like, you know, it's all about tomorrow, and like it's about, you know, hope, as the two of you are scrambling and running, and like he's doing kind of a Kermit flail as they are shooting pulse rifles at you and going, and it's just, and you know, there's explosions, and then it just kind of freeze frames, and then it shows that it's a Polaroid shot. What is the name of your settlement?
Oh, Freetown.
And it says, never a dull moment in Freetown on your little postcard, and that's game.
Yay!
Oh, that was fun. That was very, very fun.
Thank you.
Oh, I loved it. I love Fallout, and I love everything about this. This was great.
This was nice and lighthearted and fun little adventure of... I'm just excited I got to be a robot.
I am too. That was so much. When you said that you were like, this is my character, I was like, fuck yes. I'm so excited.
The second I opened it up and saw the archetypes, I'm like, okay, I can be a Mr. Handy. Yes,
it's just thrown in as an option, and it's very good.
It is. I'm like, why would I play anything other than this? So,
Victoria, thank you so much for coming on Party of One. This was a blast.
Thank you for having me.
So, real quick, before we wrap up, where can people find you and your work online?
You can find me on Twitter at Mimi Merlot, or you can find more about us on the One Shot Podcast Network or at thebroadswords.com.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for doing the show. This was a blast, and for now, I'm going to throw it over to me in the future so that he can wrap up with the show. Take it, future me. Thanks, past me. And thanks again to Victoria for coming on the show. That game was like just a good Fallout story is what that was. And as someone that deeply, deeply loves Fallout, it was exactly what I wanted it to be. And that's saying a whole lot. Be sure to check the show notes for more information about Fallout Wasteland Warfare and about the Broadswords. Then head over to a little website called twitter.com and follow the Broadswords at the Broadswords and follow Victoria at Mimi Merlot. Then follow us at Party of One Pod. Then slide on over to Facebook and like the show, facebook.com/Party of One Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please consider telling a friend about the show, whether that takes the form of an iTunes, Podchaser, etc. review, a social media shout-out, or a word of recommendation to a friend. All of those things help new listeners find the show, which helps us do bigger, better, and cooler things. You can also support the show financially at patreon.com/JeffStormer, which supports not just the podcast that I create, but the games I design, the community stuff that I do. All of that is funded directly through the Patreon. You can also go to Ko-fi.com/JeffStormer and give me money that way and buy me a craft soda, or you can go to paypal.me/JeffJStormer and give me money that way. All of those things, all of that money goes directly into making the show happen and doing cool stuff with the stuff that I do. The last thing you can do to support me is to support the other two podcasts that I produce, the first one being All My Fantasy Children. All My Fantasy Children is a character creation, storytelling, and world-building podcast on the One Shot Podcast Network, powered by you. Every week, my best friend Eric Tanosaias and I take a listener-submitted prompt, we spin it into an original fantasy character, and we populate a shared universe one story at a time. New episodes drop every Friday at allmyfantasychildren.com. The other podcast that I produce, which comes out once a year, is quickly approaching its once-a-year release date, and that's a little show called Talking Nog. Talking Nog is a yearly tradition honoring a yearly tradition. Every year we look at the past, present, and future of everyone's favorite creamy, eggy, boozy, spicy Yuletide treat, eggnog. We answer listener questions, we look at listener photos, we hear your stories, we share them, and we all revel in the experience of everyone's favorite winter holiday beverage. You can find more information about Talking Nog at bit.ly/TalkingNog, because I refuse to pay for hosting, and I might run out of SoundCloud space soon. Alright then. Party of One is produced and edited, as always, by Jeff Stormer and Jen Frank. All music for the show comes from the song Infinite Lives by Mega Ran, featuring the D&D Sluggers. If you'd like to inquire about advertising rates, guest appearances, or press coverage of the show, you can email us at partyofonepodcast@gmail.com. And that's it from me. Until next time, thank you so much for listening. Remember to fight the forces of fascism every single day. Remember that self-love and self-care are radical and defiant acts of resistance. And as always, party on, everybody.